What is going on, everyone? So as you guys know, the iPhone XR is coming out like 3 weeks from now, and best believe when it comes out, I'm gonna be one of the first people to get it. I'm gonna go wait in line. I probably should have pre-ordered it. I totally forgot to. I think you can actually pre-order it in 2 weeks from now, actually, now I think about it. But you know me, I'm still gonna forget, so I'm probably gonna wait in line. But there really probably won't be too much of a reason to wait in line just because they're going to make so many of them. I pretty much believe this is going to be the best selling iPhone, okay? And I know in the past I've said a lot of things about why I don't like it, this and that, but I decided to flip it on us again. I did another best things about the iPhone XR video too. I dropped that like 2 weeks ago, but I figured there's so much hate already on the iPhone XR, and me personally, I like taking the opposite side of a lot of things. So when I made that first iPhone XR video, the waste of money, I was one of the first people to like make a video hating on it because I think I made that the day of or the day after it actually got released. I'm not going to take credit for it and say I was the first one to jump on the hate train, but now I figured I would kind of switch it up on us. But these are some reasons why I'm personally actually excited about the iPhone XR. And of course, this isn't an iPhone XR, this is an iPhone X, but I just kind of want to run through some things. And the first reason is actually the price, and not so much of the price, but the effect it's going to have on Apple as a company. So Apple actually just increased production of the iPhone XR, so they're going to make more products so they can actually sell more. I think they're anticipating like more demand, so a lot more people are going to buy it. So ultimately, it's going to make people go into the Apple Store, buy it, obviously. And from that, I'm pretty sure the stock price and the overall evaluation of the company is going to go up too. I'm not going to say I'm not a stock investor, I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. What I'm saying is that as a whole, Apple could really make a lot of money off this device and ultimately increase the stock price and make a lot of other people happy too. And who am I to get in the way of someone else's happiness, you know? And if they're going to make a ton of money off that, then that's on them. And the price is one thing, and kind of going along that price situation, as you know, it's $740 or $750, which is the same as the iPhone 8 Plus or the iPhone 7 Plus, about $50 less than the iPhone 8 Plus. So I guess there's a little bit of a advantage there. But you also kind of have to keep in mind that yes, the price will be $750 once it releases, but it's not going to stay $750 forever. I've even seen some iPhone XS's, believe it or not, go below the $1,000 price range. They're still like $950, but that's still kind of weird. Somebody would buy it and sell it for less than what it is. It's kind of weird. I think there's some fishiness going around about it. But for the iPhone XR, it's going to sell for $750 on the release date. I'm assuming, so if it releases on October 26th, I'm going to assume that by the end of the year, probably by December, it's going to go down to about 600, maybe even less. But the thing is that there's so many of them, with the iPhone X, we saw that there were so few, not a lot of people had them, and they ran out. Like when I went there, I had to wait in line and they almost ran out. With the iPhone XR, I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to have a lot in store, and you're going to be able to get them pretty much everywhere. And from that, I'm assuming that the price will probably go down even more percentage-wise than what the iPhone X did, just because there's so many more out there. And because it's not necessarily the most premium feeling. I mean, it is premium feeling, but there's no OLED screen. There's only IPS panel. I'm going to assume and go out on a limb and say it might even be less than $600 come like January, maybe even February. So if you guys want to save a couple $100, you could even wait until like January, February. I will run another analysis on it and see if that is the case, because I ran analysis on it before, and from the trend and the percentage that I've seen, it's looking like the iPhone XR could possibly sell for less than the percentage-wise than what the iPhone X sold for in the used market. But I think the iPhone XR sits in a place where some people don't want to go out and buy a used iPhone. They're just scared or whatever. So I think the iPhone XR is there so people can go and still get a very good phone and spend less money. I think that's where the iPhone XR sits, because I mean, in my area, I probably would still buy a used iPhone X, but that's enough about the hate train. Another thing I'm really excited for is that the iPhone XR is going to utilize all those gestures, all those cool little things that the iPhone X currently has, and the XS and XS Max. So all those cool little things like swiping up to getting into the apps and gestures and all that stuff. It's pretty much future-proofing yourself, because I'm pretty sure there's not going to be another iPhone with a home button. I'm pretty sure the iPads are going to get rid of their home buttons as well. So kind of getting yourself into that position of future-proofing yourself, because I think Apple's going to do a lot more with gestures. They could possibly add split screen view, and maybe you need to have gestures in order to get into it. I don't know. But that area is really where Apple's going to start focusing more. We had the home button design. We had all these things. And for 100% fact, Apple is going to go straight away from this design. Obviously, they already started. They didn't release the iPhone this year with a home button. They could eventually probably add Touch ID back into an iPhone X panel or iPhone XS 2019 or whatever. But there's not going to be like an actual home button. It's going to be embedded in the screen or in the back, or I don't know what they're going to do with it. But this is not the design we're going to see anymore. So I think the iPhone XR kind of takes the place of like an iPhone Plus version in a way, just because it sits on that price. For a lot of people who don't want to spend that much money, they can go out, get an iPhone XR and still actually kind of future-proof themselves in a way as well. The only criticism I have of the whole gesture thing, and probably just the operating system itself, is since it only has 3 gigabytes of RAM, will it technically get the same OS updates as the iPhone XS that has 4 gigabytes of RAM, or will it get the same as the iPhone X that has 3 gigabytes of RAM? For every way I look at it, it's kind of leading me to the iPhone XS just because they both have the Apple A12 chip, the XS and the iPhone XR. But it's still kind of weird because it is kind of missing a gigabyte of RAM, and a gigabyte of RAM is a lot. That's the whole reason why I think the iPhone 6 is not getting iOS 13, just because I think they're only going to keep the devices that have 2 gigabytes of RAM or more. So that is a strange situation, but I mean, we're going to see that later on. We're not going to, have an answer yet. Another cool thing that I love about the iPhone XR is the size. I think the size is really good. The iPhone X, I think, is somewhat the perfect size. I'll probably end up getting an iPhone XS Max, but the fact that the iPhone XR is just a little bit bigger than this, I mean, I can hold this in one hand. My hands aren't the biggest either, but having something that's a little bit bigger would be really, really awesome. I think the iPhone XS Max is just a little bit too big. I mean, I'm not going to hate on it too much, but that is kind of an area where I was like, oh my God, like this is kind of a massive phone. And if you put a case on it, I mean, because the iPhone XS Max is all screen, it just makes it seem a lot larger than what it is. Because with the iPhone 8 Plus, it wasn't all screen, you just utilize this part of the screen right here, and you can hold it in one hand and but with the iPhone XS Max, it's all screen. So it's a little bit harder to use. It's not harder to use. I still like it. Like I said, I'm probably going to end up using it, and maybe I'll get used to it. But with the iPhone XR, it's going to be smaller than the iPhone 8 Plus. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to, is the size of it, just because you can probably still use it with the one hand, even if you have like smaller sized hands. I'm not going to, shame myself and say I have like really small hands. And now this last thing I kind of want to hit on before I go on another like tangent would probably be the battery life. I think the iPhone XR, they're saying that it's going to have the same battery life as the iPhone XS Max, but I kind of will assume that the iPhone XR is going to have better battery life than the iPhone XS Max. And the reason being is because it's about a 200, not even like less than a 200 milliamp hour difference between the XS and XR. But you have to remember that the resolution of the screen and the performance of it isn't as high as the iPhone XS Max, and the screen isn't as big either. So you're having like not even a 1080p screen on the iPhone XR, where you're having an almost like a 1440p, I don't remember what it is, on the iPhone XS Max. Now those numbers could potentially be wrong, so don't quote me on those. I'm just going from the top of my head. But the resolution is completely different. And that in and of itself is a reason for it to possibly having better battery life. But another thing could be, because it doesn't have the extra gigabyte of RAM, because it doesn't have as big of a screen, like I said, I will probably say that not only will it have better battery life than the XS Max, but I think the iPhone XR could potentially have the best battery life out of any iPhone that's ever been released. And I've noticed that with a lot of budget iPhones. If you guys step back and remember the iPhone SE, I just made a video about this too. The battery life on this was actually not that bad at all. 100% does not have the best battery life ever of any iPhone for sure. But because it does have a smaller screen, because it isn't clocked as high as maybe like an iPhone 8 Plus or an iPhone X, you do end up kind of gaining a little bit of battery life from that. And I noticed standby time was very, very good on the iPhone SE. And I feel like with the iPhone XR, it's only going to expand on that. You have to remember the iPhone XR is pretty much like an iPhone SE reincarnated into a bigger version. That's like the best way I can explain it. It's not like 100%, but I think that's the best way I can explain the iPhone XR. It's pretty much like the iPhone SE too. So kind of going on that ledge, dude, like I will say 100% the iPhone XR is going to be worth it. Yes, it's going to be a very good seller. Like I said, I think it's going to be good for Apple, and it's going to be good for a lot of those people who don't necessarily want to go and buy a used iPhone. They think it's safe, or they think it's unsafe. They're scared because there's a lot of media out there that's always like, oh, Craigslist person shot this person, this and that. It's like, yeah, it happens. But if you get your things off eBay or any other of these websites, like nothing's going to happen to you. But I think that's where the iPhone XR sits, and that's just my theory. But I'm not hating on it either. If you don't feel safe buying used technology, then that's perfectly fine. That's on you. You can potentially save yourself a lot of money, but that's one reason why those are just a couple reasons why I'm looking forward to the iPhone XR. I think the used price category is really what I'm trying to get at, because the iPhone XR, if it depreciates the same as the iPhone 8 Plus, as well as the iPhone 7 Plus and all those other Plus versions, it will probably go down to about $500 by January or February. Maybe even less, just because there's going to be so many iPhones out there. But like I said, that's kind of my personal reason. I think as a company, as a whole, I think Apple's going to really knock it out of the park and they're probably going to make a lot of money off of it, which is really good for shareholders. I'm probably going to invest in Apple, but I don't know if that's going to be like a conflict of interest, because I'm going to be like, if I talk good about Apple, potentially more people will buy their products and it'll go up. Like, I don't know, guys. That's just my opinion. I can't wait to get the iPhone XR. It seems like a lot of people like talking about it and like looking at it, so I literally cannot wait, guys. And that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or any concerns at all, leave it down in the comment section below. Whether you like the iPhone XR or you hate the iPhone XR, I would love to know your opinion. Hit that like button, that don't mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count, so it don't mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out my second channel, which is Lo-Fi Alpaca. That is also linked in the description down below. I do a lot more iOS reviews. I'm going to start doing a lot more iOS reviews. Once iOS 12.0.1 comes out, I'll do a lot more reviews on them, on the Plus variants, the 8 Plus, 7 Plus, 6S Plus, 6 Plus. If you guys have those phones, you might want to check out that channel. I'm going to do battery reviews on that channel as well, so keep it locked down. And if you want, go watch some of those videos, because I need to get 4,000 hours of watch time. I'm literally like almost there. I already have like over 1,000 subscribers on that finally, but I just need to get 4,000 watch hours. So go there, watch a couple of my videos, and then I think we'll all be set. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.